get into the biggest news of them all. One of our favorite players, Jared, I guess I found this out this week. You named your dog after this player. We're talking Morgan Rielly. Now the audience knows Jared's dog's name. So thank you, Mario, for making sure that is said. But again, what we have to focus on is the dollars and cents. And boy, did Dubas come out of the gates, I guess it was signed at the Maple Leafs practice. I think it's, what is it? MasterCard Center. I don't know if they changed that name yet, but
or Performance Center.
Or Performance Center. Yeah, my Leafs knowledge is wishy-washy, I guess you could say today. But he walked out of there feeling good about himself and making a huge steal. I think that's the general message coming from Leafs Nation. He blasted some much-needed outside noise from the struggling Maple Leafs team, shifting the focus to what he had to get done in the upcoming offseason. Now, this blew me away. I was actually on a work site at my job putting up tents, and I hop in the car and I hear on the radio that Morgan Rielly has been signed, and that was quite exciting. I did not expect whatsoever to see any of that. And when I heard the AAV, I almost jumped out of my seat. It was, I didn't think 7.5 was even a reasonable thing to bring to the table when you're discussing these guys, because I don't know how much you want to rip on Rielly. I don't think there's much room to rip on Rielly, but again, he hasn't had that many great seasons with the Toronto Maple Leafs, like Norris caliber seasons I'm talking. He had that one when he was playing alongside Ron Haynes that allowed him to show off his offensive prowess. I believe it was top 5 in voting that year. And I don't think we're going to see that again. Top 2. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, he was behind Giordano. I remember that.
Oh, I can't believe Giordano won in Norris. Jesus Christ.
That's ridiculous.
When you look back at it, what a year it was. And I mean, Rielly, one of his best, if not the best, defensive performance as well as offensive performance coming out of his camp in that year. I don't expect to see other Norris candidate seasons with Rielly, but I expect to see a lot of consistent seasons. And I think that's what Kyle Dubas is banking on. And to get him consistent seasons like that for that AAV, Adamo, is it a steal? I know you can confirm this.
I think it's a steal. Actually, fun little story about Jared and his dog. We got a dog. We called her Roxy. I wanted to name her Rielly because of Morgan Rielly. Growing up, Morgan Rielly, you can even see the jersey back there. This is my first Leaf jersey ever. Got it in like 2013, like fresh Rielly rookie. I don't know why. I loved when we picked Rielly. Like, remember, I was like 10 years old at the time. I just loved that, like that defenseman. He was super fast. He was fun, young kid. I remember, did Rielly get a point on this goal? It was a lot of fun cheering for Rielly, and I'm so happy that he's here for 8 more years. And to answer your question, yes, 7.5 was a steal.
Definitely, at least in my mind. Jared, do you side with it? And if you have any dog stories, please, I would love to hear them.
Yes, we need Rielly stories.
First of all, I can give you a dog story on actually the first day where we got Rielly was the game of the Columbus Blue Jackets, like the Leafs coming back when they were down 3-0 and ended up winning the game. That was the night we got Rielly, and I was scared we made her deaf on night 1.
Yeah, wow.
She was
Probably
sleeping in her
so
little
scared.
dog bed and we were screaming. But whatever, that's besides the point. We could get into Rielly stories after. I'm gonna say I love the signing. Morgan Rielly was actually my pick to be who I wanted to be captain. Obviously, no problems with John Tavares. I love him, but I love Morgan Rielly. I think he's such an important part of this team. And even when he's obviously we need him to produce, we need him to contribute, and we need him to play well defensively. But even when he's not, you could always lean on the fact that he is such an important part of this team because he's a leader. He's a person that's been there. He's I think the longest running Leaf, and he's been there through everything. He's been there through the rebuild. People look up to him, and I think he's just such a big part of this team. And the fact that we have him locked down for 8 more years at way below market value for what defensemen are getting now, I think it's just an unbelievable signing. And yes, you could still talk about the fact that 5 players on our team are making such a big percentage of our thing, but really it's not an issue with the top 5. I'd say it's an issue with the top 3 because Morgan Rielly and William Nylander, I'd say, are on unbelievable contracts right now.
And I mean, you just took the words out of my mouth. I was about to ask you about that core 5 taking up I got the numbers right in front of me, 58.9, I believe it is, percentage of so 59% basically of the total cap hit for the 2022 season. Is that something that concerns you at all? I mean, I know you were talking about seeing Morgan Rielly be captain, and this was obviously I did a lot more research and found out that this is unable to happen. But I was thinking right when I saw the signing, does this mean that a guy from the top 4, the core 4, is going to get moved? And my thought was maybe Tavares, the original captain, the captain right now, does get moved in the summer. and we see Rielly get promoted to the captain. Now, this was just like an obviously fresh off the books, off the top of the dome, saying, well, this could potentially happen. Then you go look into Tavares' contract a little more, and now he's got a bunch of no movement clauses. So obviously you're not going to see it coming to fruition. But again, just going back to my other topic here, do you see this 59% cap hit for the next season being something that concerns you? Does it should it concern Leafs Nation? Because, and if we're going to touch upon it like right after Rielly, Adam Fox, he signed a big deal as well. And you look at those guys that are making the money, those top five, and you compare it to this top five, it's leaps and bounds, not even close to what we're dealing with. So is this something that concerns you, Jared? And I'll also turn it over to you, Evan, right after. What do you make of the core five?
I mean, it's not necessarily something, I don't want to say it concerns me, because I think the team we have right now, even with that cap situation, I mean, we've assembled a team that in my mind, I think we still are capable and have the pieces there that we should be a competitive team. And when we're not playing well, and when we're not playing competitive, it's disappointing because we have the pieces there that we should be a great team. So it's not necessarily that I'm concerned, but it definitely is a lot of our cap space is tied into 5 players. So it's something that it's worth noting. I mean, it's a lot. I believe we have the most money tied into our top 5. If not, I know the New York Rangers are up there as well. But it's something that you need to note. And it's something that, depending on how this season goes, I think you do need to maybe start bringing up the conversation of, well, obviously Austin Matthews isn't going anywhere, but you have to maybe look at, I hate to say, but maybe you look at a Mitch Marner trade or something along those lines, because it is a lot of money tied into your top 5. However, I'm not panicking yet, because I think what we got from Morgan Rielly is a great deal. It's a great signing. And as much as, sure, there's a concern about our top 3, because that is a ton of money tied into 3 players, but I'm not concerned with Morgan Rielly. I think the signing of Morgan Rielly didn't give me any additional panic that I already had when looking at the way our cap situation is looking as of now. So I think I'm kind of conflicted, because I don't want to say it's not concerning, but I also don't want to say it's concerning either. I think Morgan Rielly, from the day he signed this new extension, it didn't give me any additional panic that I already had. It's concerning that our top 3 is making up this much of our cap situation. But I mean, Morgan Rielly at $7.5 million, you are not getting any better than that. That is, even when you compare it to what other defensemen are getting right now, that is such a good signing. So I'm not more panicked, and I'm not stressing, and I'm not mad at Kyle Dubas after what he just got Morgan Rielly for. I think what the top 3 make is a different story, and we could talk about whether one of them has to go. But purely looking at the Morgan Rielly signing, it doesn't panic me at all, or it doesn't concern me.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's something that the house is sort of divided in Leafs Nation. Everyone's sort of, it's either you're really cheering for the Leafs, the signing that just happened, we're trying to enjoy it, and then you have to look at the other side of the coin and say, well, these guys are making this much money. How is that so? And what are we going to do about it? I think I just recently found this out today, that the New York Rangers are in that same problem. And it just gives me so much more relief seeing that their situation has so many more worse contracts than the Maple Leafs do. And I don't know. I think it's something that they're going to have to deal with. I think the Leafs have always been dealing with this. And you hit it off on the nail there. It's not the core 5 that's making all that money. It's more so concerning that the 3 guys are making that much money. And I think that is going to spill into the off season. I know it's a long season. We just started a couple of weeks ago, but seeing Mitch Marner's name now legitimately thrown into the table, I know a lot of people were joking about it. Now it could potentially come to fruition if this, I wouldn't say streak, but if something like this continues to happen with this player. And I just will have to wait and see. Evan, I want to turn it over to you quickly before we get into the Fox signing as well. What do you make of the signing of the Rielly one? I'm sure you'll side with all of us here, it being a steal, because he could have gotten so much more money in so many other destinations. And I would just love to be a fly in the room is negotiating that contract, because I don't know what Dubas said, but it as you can see, it worked, because man, 7.5, you're not going to get more cheaper than that, especially for a defenseman of his caliber.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think it was a lot of work that Kyle Dubas needed to do, because according to what my dad was saying, Morgan Rielly wanted to stay in Toronto. So it's not like Kyle Dubas really had to convince Morgan Rielly. The one thing that's really huge about this contract, though, is that 8th year, because if it was just a 7-year deal, now the AAV turns to 8.5 million. So that 8th year is actually really huge for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And also, this is also what my dad was saying, is that Morgan Rielly wasn't really concerned about his AAV. He was rather like, if I can just get like a just get good amount of money, like then I'm content with that. Like he didn't need, like, it seems like what from what I was hearing is that like he didn't need like an egregious $80 million payout. Like if he can just make comfortable money, then that's all he really wanted. It is concerning that 5 players, and I know it's the same thing with New York, but I don't think you can really compare the two just because it's like this is my analogy though. It's like if your house is broken, but it's like, oh, but that house is even in worse shape. It's like your house is still broken. So it's not like you're in a better situation. And I understand that, yes, you got Morgan Riley at a great value. Your one issue is, though, is that you have 3 guys on your roster making $10+ million. And unfortunately, I know that they were expecting, even with COVID, like without COVID, then the cap would go up. You would still be paying 5 guys a substantial amount of money. And it's unfortunate that that's the situation that they're in. Where now in free agency, they have to rely on $2 million players and just short contracts that they hope work out. Um, I don't know if you want to jump shift to the Adam Fox signing. Are we? Can we? Or
Oh, I mean, if you guys have
Yeah.
anything else to say about Riley, because I mean, you just provide the best segue imaginable for a host to jump right into the New
Yeah,
York Rangers,
like
that core
wanna-
five. You want to make a comment? Go for it.
yeah, like in terms of that Adam Fox signing, I think it was a great signing, and I think it was important to lock him up now before maybe his AAV goes up. I mean, the pace he's at right now, I wouldn't be surprised if he would have gotten down the road with using a unrestricted free agency, if he would have gotten like an Eric Carlson type contract where he gets 8 years, 11 million. I think he's that good of a or that great of a defenseman. I would put him in terms of offensive caliber defenseman. I would put him in that tier 1 group with Victor Hedman and Cale Makar. We saw last year him tear up the league. Granted, it was a 56-game season, and he's seeing the same opponent 8 times a year. But now we're seeing the sample size where he's tearing it up still, and he's not playing the same teams. Like, and now when you look at the New York Rangers and what they had to give up to get him, it was a 3rd-round pick that they sent to Calgary in exchange for Adam Fox. So I think that was a great signing. To get him at 7 years, you've now locked him up until he's about, I think, would say maybe 28, 29 years old. And then after that, you can do another 4-year bridge deal where you give him 4 years at maybe 7 million or $6.5 million. So I think they set themselves up better. The Trouba contract, when now you're talking about the 5 players, is not a good situation, considering you gave up Neil Pionk in that deal, and now Neil Pionk is turning into the offensive defenseman they were hoping Jacob Trouba would be. So that's just my opinion. Obviously, the 6 players that lock up their 56% or 54% of the cap aren't as good as the Maple Leafs. But then again, those teams are both in a really bad situation.
And I just find it funny how those 2 teams are the richest teams in the NHL. Like, I don't know if there's a correlation there. Maybe I'm just off my rocker a little bit, but it's just strange to know how the New York Rangers and the Toronto Maple Leafs both, I think it came out to open up the season statistically, how they're the richest organizations, like net worth, all that kind of stuff in the National Hockey League. They are both suffering from this problem and still not getting any results from it. We'll see if it changes. But again, you want to touch upon Adam Fox, getting him for a 3rd-round pick and then getting Trouba for Pionk. I mean, you're going to win some, you're going to lose some as a GM. That's a very big win for the Rangers, but also a very big loss, because that Trouba contract, and I think is the big outliner that's biting them in the butt when you're looking at dollars and cents. And I actually didn't know. I guess this Fox deal just had to open up my eyes towards the New York Rangers cap struggles. I didn't know that they were in the mud with those 5 players, 6 players making all that money. I didn't think it was that relatable to Toronto Maple Leafs, but here we are. Again, just to remind you guys, Fox is making 9.5 per year. That's a 7-year deal for Adam Fox. He had 47 points in 55 games last season, where he won the Norris Trophy, and of course he's registered 9 points in as many games this season. So the offensive is still there, and what's looking like making this money is going to continue to stay there for the Blue Shirts and Adam Fox's party. So I guess, Evan, I started with you. Your thoughts on the deal. You made it pretty known. I was surprised when I saw this deal. I don't know about you guys, but I was quite surprised. I didn't think it had to happen now, but I guess the New York Rangers wanted to get it right out of the way, just like the Maple Leafs did. Maybe the Maple Leafs and Kyle Dubas motivated the Rangers to do it. You got to add something?
Yeah, and this is just like a quick note that I saw on Twitter is that Adam Fox got the largest contract out of like straight out of the entry level deal. This is the largest contract any player, forward, defenseman, goalie has gotten out of their entry level deal.
That's pretty surprising.
It's because 8 years, right?
Yeah, because the
probably
also
why.
the AAV, I believe,
No, Matthews literally got it like 11.
but that wasn't out of
Oh.
his entry.
Yeah, it
I don't
was.
believe
Yes,
that
it was.
It was.
I think total amount of money. I
Okay,
guess,
then maybe it was
would be
total
Fox.
amount
Yeah.
is for Fox, like largest
Yeah,
contract.
because Matthews got 11.5 times 5 though, or was
Yeah.
it times 5 or 6?
I think it was 5.
So yeah, so that
Yeah.
would make sense. Maybe just 9.5 times 7 ends up being
Yeah.
the most amount of money. That would make
Yeah.
sense.
It's the largest contract.
I mean, he deserved it too. He's potting goals left, right, and center. He's a point stacker. So, and he's probably one of the best players you can bring to your fantasy team as well. So there's everything but upside for Adam Fox. So he was worth every penny, in my opinion. I don't think it was an overpay whatsoever. I think you had to lock him down. Like Evan, you mentioned, he has the potential to raise that roof, raise that ceiling, and you could have got him as this would look like a steal maybe 2 years down the road, 3 years down the road, where the Rangers are maybe a competitive team and they might be winning the cup. And the player like Adam Fox is leading them to that route. So I think we'll have to wait and see how this pans out. Adamo, do you have any other thoughts on the Fox signing? I know we're moving a little bit quick here, but I mean, 9.5 for 8 years. Like, what do you make of the deal? And was it necessary to get signed now compared to any other point in the season and even the offseason?
Well, he just won a Norris. So,
Mhm.
I mean, to say he doesn't deserve it would be ridiculous considering what like guys like, no, we keep shitting on Seth Jones, but a guy like Seth Jones got for winning a Norris, 6 years ago now? Yeah, I don't really have a strong opinion on it. I think it's a great contract. He puts up a lot of points. I think he led all defensemen in points last year, if I'm not mistaken, as well. Really solid defensively in his own end. To touch on that 3rd round pick for Calgary thing, I almost feel bad for Calgary and Carolina because he straight up told them, "I'm not signing with you." So, you're kind of screwed there. So yeah, I think it's a good amount of money because you want to sign a guy when not when he's at his highest. I mean, if you signed him right after that Norris Trophy victory, I think he would have been even more. But to get him now at 9.5 over 8 years too is really good.
I mean, I think it's just pretty fresh in all our minds. We don't really have a lot of time. We didn't have a lot of turnover time, I guess you could say, to stew over this, think about it, maybe sought out all the reasonable thoughts on this Adam Fox signing. But I mean, if you're just looking at the past resume, he's terrific in his own end, like you mentioned. Obviously, the offense is there. He's a Norris winner, the reigning Norris winner, and finished atop of the league in points for a defenseman. So you know what you're getting from Adam Fox. So again, worth every single penny. As of right now, I can't really think of anything to go against that. Jared, do you have anything to add on to that? Like, I don't know. It's
Yeah,
just
so
we're
I
saying
just
the
wanted
same
to
thing.
Yeah, I just wanted to add. So it's not that I think it's a bad signing whatsoever. It's a great signing. The fact they locked this player down for 7 years. He's won the Norris. Obviously, he's worth his $9.5 million. My only comment I want to make, and it's similar to what I was saying when we were talking about the Kirill Kaprizov signing, is just the fact that last year was such a weird season that I find there's always going to be a little bit of risk associated with giving people huge pay raises based on a great performance in that weird season. So likely it will end up working out. I mean, the guy just won the Norris. He's lighting it up this year as well. He's on my fantasy team or one of my fantasy teams, and he's absolutely tearing it up. So I love Adam Fox as a player. I think as of now, I'd say he is worth the money he got. I just think they're always in the back of my head is a little bit of a risk of what if it was just, and obviously we're seeing how he started this season. Yes, it's early in the season, but he is still like carrying it on. And he still is succeeding and doing well. But I think in the back of my head, there is always going to be that he got this big payday after a great season in a weird season. So I think there's always going to be a little bit of risk. However, as of today, I'm going to say he does deserve it. $9.5 million is great for a player like him. Literally just won the trophy that calls him the best defenseman in the league. He's a great player. I think he earns every penny, but I'm still going to see, and I'm curious to see how it's going to age moving forward.
And I think that's fair. I mean, I think you're going to look at every sign that was made this past offseason, a large signing at that. I think Seth Jones, I don't even know because Seth Jones, he didn't have a terrific year last year. So I think the Chicago Blackhawks were just banking on years prior, lots of years prior to see if it pays out. So far, it hasn't done any dividends for them. But I think Kirill Kaprizov, I'm actually interested. I don't know if any of you want to pull up the stats or if you have it in front of you. I don't know how he's doing down in Minnesota right now after signing that deal. It's not too pleasant right now.
I don't
No.
think he scored a goal, but I believe he has the lowest goals
Yes.
above expected, right?
He has 6 assists in 8 games. He's a -3.
He's
You
not.
also gotta
He's
look
not.
at
Yeah,
you also
he's-
got to look at how good Minnesota's been, and he's
And-
like the catalyst to why Minnesota is so good.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think we're going to have to see. It's too early to say. I mean,
There's a stat. I do want to find it. Keep talking, and I will find it because he's playing really well, but he's getting extremely unlucky. I think. Well, I think on that broadcast,
I thought in the
few nights
Chicago
ago.
game.
Yeah,
in the
it was
Chicago game.
most shots without a goal.
I just want to say you could say that, and I know that the stat isn't that with Mitch Marner, but I'm just going to say you can't exactly use he's looked great, but he's getting unlucky. Because like at a point you're being paid the
Yeah.
big bucks, you have to contribute. And I get it. He has looked fine, but you expect more. And same thing, you can expect more from Mitch Marner. So I'm just going to put that out there.
He's definitely got to score.
Yeah,
I'm
he
not, like,
definitely needs to
excusing
pick it
it.
up. I don't think he's a bad player whatsoever. I even when we were talking about that signing, I mean, I think he deserved it based on how he did last year. It's just a matter of how he continues moving forward. So I think he's a great player. He definitely needs to contribute. He needs to put the puck in the net. Like that's what he's paid the big bucks for.
The only thing that I'd say to that is Minnesota's looked unreal without him scoring, and the Leafs didn't when Mitch Marner wasn't playing. So that's why I'm not.
I agree with that. Yeah, that's fair.
I can't find the stat. So,
Okay, it's not
all
but
good.
he was really good.
We'll go with what we got.
Yeah.
fine. It's fine.
No, but I mean, I think just to sign it off before we get into the Cole Caulfield situation in Montreal, it's just that there's 8 more years with that contract, just like there is with Adam Fox. Like if he doesn't do it this year, doesn't mean he won't be doing it in the second year, third year, fourth year. Like there's so much time. That's the beauty about these 8-year deals. I know how much we knock it, including myself. I'm not a big fan of the long deals, but you're still giving yourself a pretty big window for a guy to succeed. Maybe it's not this year. Maybe he's in a sophomore slump. But if he picks it up the next year, that past season just means nothing. I hope I'm not confusing anyone who's listening because I'm sort of confusing myself. But I think my principle means the same. Like there's still time with these guys. And I think Adam Fox and even Morgan Rielly, he's a veteran, so we know what we're getting with him. He's proven that. And even Adam Fox, I know he was in a different season, a more condensed season, and you could throw in all the arguments you want. It's just, if it's not this year, it could potentially be the year after that, because it's still going to pay off. 9.5 million for that guy, and he's putting up another Norris season, maybe not this year, but next year. Yeah, I don't hear any New York Rangers fans complaining, just like no Leaf fans would be complaining. And even Minnesota fans, if this were to happen with Kirill Kaprizov, they wouldn't be complaining either.